very much. Thank you, Polly, and thank you, Alan, for allowing me to be the keynote speaker. And most importantly, thank you, the audience, for listening to me for a couple of minutes. I just wanted to find out. I just wanted to make sure, Polly, if we're still holding to the 9:40 schedule, I think I have 2 minutes left for questions.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So if it's okay, I'm going to go about 8 to 10 minutes on a very quick explanation or talk on my experiences over the past 2 years. And I call them lucky breaks, turn your adversity to a challenge. If you can go ahead and hit the next slide. This is my favorite slide, a favorite photo that I have of myself. That's my favorite photo. And the reason it's my favorite photo was because I was medevaced out of Lourdes Hospital into Landstuhl Regional Hospital in Germany to a world-class trauma center on the 21st of September 2009. On the 16th of September 2009, I suffered a serious cycling accident. I broke my left eye socket in the Pyrenees, but the worst part, I grazed the left side of my face, but the worst part was my left hip was dislocated and, acting as a battering ram, shattered the left pelvis, or the acetabulum. And they call that a seagull pattern break because it resembles a flock of seagulls in flight. Very high failure rate of healing. I was taken to Lourdes Hospital for about 5 days, and I had no money, no passport, no wallet, no insurance, and no mobile phone. And so when I told Polly and Alan this story, they said, "This is perfect." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, the theme of this is getting more for less." So I think I started out with less, but I ended up in a world-class trauma ward in Landstuhl Hospital. And what I want to do is I want to tell you a couple of the things that I learned along the way, and maybe they can be applied to you, and maybe you can pass them on to your pupils. First thing is to recognize, in terms of whenever you're dealt with, or when I was dealt with this situation, recognizing and accepting where you are. And if I could have the next slide, please. Where I am. I got into Lourdes Hospital, and I told the doctor, I said, "I think I've had an active life. I think I've dislocated my hip." And he said, No, you shattered your pelvis." And he was right. And what happened was, when my accident occurred, they had to wire me up, and you can see the bits on the right side. It's on the left hip. And it took about 9.5 hours to do the first operation. Had a total of 4. But everything turned out okay. So this is the last of the gruesome photographs, I promise you that. So if I could have the next slide, please. When you recognize where you are, the second point I've always said is ask for help. And I've crossed out the word ask and put in the word seek. When I was in Lourdes Hospital, I called everybody in the world to try to get this medevac flight. I called 6 or 7 people to try to find out how I could get out of Lourdes, because they didn't have the expertise to deal with my injury. I called the head, I called the JR, I called OCC, I called my insurance company, I called everybody, and finally, I even called my U.S. Senator. And finally, I found a U.S. Air Force major that had the keys to unlock my problem. He had a medevac flight in Landstuhl, Germany. And he said, "Hey, I know what we can do. We can make this a training flight if you sign a disclaimer form in case anything would happen to you." That's fine with me. I've got no problems at all. So I found the one person, and it wasn't a person high up in the organization. It wasn't a person that had a lot of power, but it was a person that could unlock that door to get me to the hospital. So it was seeking and getting help. If I had just asked, I would have been in Lourdes for 3 to 4 months, and I would have risked being for life. That's what they said. They said you have about 3 or 4 days before we have to operate, and if we have to operate, we really don't have the expertise to do this, so you might want to get out of here. So it's seeking and getting help. And if you look at it, I say that I owe the U.S. military for giving me my legs back. I owe the JR for giving me my life back because I had MRSA and they took care of that. And I gave MRSA to myself. They got rid of it for me. And the third group of people that I thank is I thank my teachers for making sure that I do the most with my life for the rest of my life. Because if you look at that nurse there, it's the teachers from when she was here, this tall, to going through her medical training. So I credit you for helping me get on with the rest of my life. Next slide, please. I know that it's ICT, so I'm going to have to show a computer. I'm sorry, this is the only computer I can show right now. Modern Work Styles at Launch Tool. You see that their manager's end is pretty spartan right now, and when you look at it, they're wheeling their computers all over the place, just like this. It's really incredible. They'll go up and down the board. There were a couple of people that were whinging about it, and the reason that I put this, there's a sign. There was a sign right here, and it came up with their it kind of encapsulated their change philosophy, because it said change, deal with it. And I thought that was quite good, especially in Launch Tool, because when I was there was when the surge occurred in Iraq, and that's when a lot of casualties came in. And I tell you, I felt pretty guilty about that, because you saw a lot of people that were wounded, and they were coming into the wards and they said, "What happened to you?" I said, "I fell off my bike." So it really is important to realize the change curve. So if I could have the change curve as the next slide, please. And you may not have seen this before. You may have. And I've worked through this for the past couple of years, going through shock, blame, denial, anger, and finally into this action planning, because I finally have now figured out what I want to do with the rest of my life, at least in this stage. And I'm going to go ahead and talk for about 2 minutes about moving on from your adversity and turning the adversity to your advantage. So over the past 2 years, had a couple of problems, and I said, I really want to do something to make a difference for the rest of my life, because my teachers said, you've got to make something of your life. They are the ones that really energize my passion for doing things to the best of my ability. The good ones did. And I don't buy this thing that there are no bad pupils, only bad teachers. I think everybody's absolutely responsible. I think that most of the teachers, an overwhelming majority of you, do such a tremendous job in terms of teaching people the values and applying the principles to people's lives. And this is one of the principles that this one teacher taught me a little while ago. So if we could go to the next slide. SMART goals. We've heard about SMART goals before, being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Well, when I was after my first stint in the hospital, I was at home limping around. No, not limping, I was on crutches. And an electrician came in, and the electrician said, "Well, what are you going to do now that you're not going to cycle anymore?" And I said, "Well, the first thing I'm going to do is after you finish the hob, I'm not going to invite you back into my house again, because I'm going to cycle again. I'm going to go over the Alps." So looking at an objective that would really make people's eyes just think, well, yeah, that's not going to happen. So I put it in my mind that I was going to cycle over the Alps in June of this past year. So I was looking for a goal that was stupendous, right? Momentous, awesome, revolutionary, and transformational. And I knew the goal that I set initially was the right goal, because people would either say, that's great, or you're out of your mind, or both. So the idea of using the SMART goal is capturing the person's heart as well as their head, and making sure that you capture that spark of enthusiasm, because once you have that, you know that things are going to go your way. Next slide, please. Finding your skaters to achieve your SMART goal. Everyone, I had 6 or 7 physiotherapists, and I've had 7 physiotherapists. I've stuck with the 7th one, because the other one said, well, I don't think that you're going to be able to walk. The first one said you couldn't walk normally. The second one said, well, you probably won't be able to cycle very much. But I found a guy that said, you know, we're going to have problems with you running the marathon, but I think you're going to make it. And I thought, I'm going to stick with that guy. I told the physiotherapist I want to cycle over the Alps on the 21st of June. I had to move it up forward a little bit because of the snows. And I said, well, let's go on the 3rd of June. So what I did was I asked my cousin, Hans Ruby, if he could help me get over the Alps. He lives in Bern, right on the foot of the Alps. He said, yep, no problem at all. So if I could go ahead and have the next slide, please. And this is where I come up with the acronym of the skater. I want people that have the skill, knowledge, attitude, talent. There are 3 E's: experience, enthusiasm, energy, people that give me results, and finally people that have spirit. And it's really, really interesting because I've checked it out as a business consultant. I've developed this kind of a matrix, and I start ticking the qualities. And you don't need all those qualities to get things going. All you need is a person with a good attitude, a bit of enthusiasm and energy, and a person that says, I'm going to make it happen. And you have the right mix for doing your jobs or doing your objectives. So I've been using this SCATERS acronym. It really helped me with getting over the Alps because my cousin's a little bit younger than me, out of shape. I said, have you trained? He said, no, but we're going to have the best lunches of our lives. And I tell you, the Alps, going up the highest pass was okay, but the lunches about killed me. Having the white and the red wine and the dessert gone. So I say you need to look at and use your SCATERS acronym, take those SMART objectives, and you're really golden. You will really have a good way of looking ahead and doing more with less. And I just want to bring up two more points. I got about 2 minutes left, I think. Okay, so the next is to express gratitude. People ask me, well, what are you really grateful about? So after my second operation, I was in a German hospital because the first operation wasn't successful. The hip dislocated in retraction acetabulum, and went to a German hospital, and they had to open me up from the side, put some more screws in it. And after I came out of that, I was grateful for the nurse that stayed with me all night and shifted my foot every 5 minutes. And I thought, wow, that was incredible, just to make sure that I wasn't going to be in pain. And it's looking for gratitude in the moment, because you never know what's going to come around the corner. So I think living in the moment, being grateful for it is very, very important. And then finally, okay, if I could have the next slide, please. This is what I got when I came into Landstuhl Hospital. I was in the gurney. You saw me there. And I got that handwritten note from somebody in the States. And if you look at it, you think, gosh, that's either a very poignant message from an 8 or 9-year-old child, or maybe a U.S. Marine Corps member. But it's really important to think how that reverberates and goes beyond everything else. So what I'd like to do is tell you 2 stories, and then I'll open up for questions. First story: in 1965, I was 10 years old, and my father was a textile salesman. He'd go all over the place. Great guy. And he would always get his card out. He'd say, hi, I'm John Von Kane. I've got a card. Go to these exhibitions. And one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang. And the phone never rang in Clemson, South Carolina at 3 o'clock in the morning in 1965. And of course, it woke me up. And all of a sudden I heard Dad's voice. Huh? What? Just a second. And then I always knew I knew that the situation was serious when he adopted his military tone, because he was in World War II in Korea. He was over here in World War II. And he said, Sally, my mom, Sally, I'm going in the den, I'm picking up the phone. When I pick up the phone, you put the phone down in bed. And Mom said, yes, Mom. So my dad went into the den, I could hear him for about a couple of minutes in a very slow, earnest tone talking. And I drifted back to sleep, woke up the next morning, and I said, "What did you do?" And he said, "No, nothing. Did nothing. I said, No. He said, "Dad, that's something's going on." And he said, "Well, somebody needed help." And my mom said, "Vaughn, tell him." So my dad said, "Well, a guy had his card, and he was going to kill himself. And he didn't have anybody else to call. So he called Dad. And Dad talked him out of killing himself that morning at 3 o'clock in the morning." And I said, "Dad, how did he get our number?" And he said, he wrote our home phone number on the back of the card. And the whole point of it is a person's life can turn on a card, on a simple card. Second story, last slide. Well, the next last slide. This is the card that I got when 2009, on the 21st of September. And I tell you, I still have it. I have it in my pocket. So every time I feel a little bit bad or a little bit intimidated in front of these audiences, I go ahead and pull it out just to have a look at it. And the whole point of it is, whose card are you going to give to turn their life around? Because that person's turned my life around. I'm now the chairman of a charity called C2C, a British American charity. We're going to cycle from Brize Norton, Oxfordshire, to London Heathrow Airport on the 21st of April next year. We're going to cycle from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C., ending up at the Lincoln Memorial on the 4th of July, after spending the night in Arlington National Cemetery on the 3rd. And we're going to come back on the 8th of July at Brize Norton. And the purpose that we're going to do this is to raise national and international awareness of British and American service members, veterans, and their families, and to raise $10 million and £5 million to the respective U.S. and U.K. veterans charities. So that's what that one card's done for me. So that's really the essence of my talk. And the only thing I'd like to do is I'll offer my card to you. To any, if you have a school assembly, if you have any children or pupils that would like to hear my story, I'm happy to give it. I've given it to a few pupils before, and they've said, you know, how many stitches, how long was the operation, can I see your scars, and all that stuff. Happy really to tell the story, because I think it's really important that we push, that we publicize what we're trying to do or what we will do next year. So that concludes my talk, and I don't know if I have any time for questions, but if I'm happy to entertain any questions if you want to know how many stitches I have, how long the operation is. Yes.
How can we find out about your charity, and how can we get your card to be out there?
I will be out there. I only have 500 cards, and I have an A5 piece of paper. The charity went live on Friday at 11 o'clock, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month of the 11th year. We have our website, www.c2c.org, and we're also on Facebook. So happy to do that. Other questions? Any other questions? If not, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.